Question number 4, the Honourable David Parker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. In the most recent World Economic Outlook published by the IMF in April 2012, which of the 34 advanced economies listed is forecast to have a worse current account deficit as a percentage of GDP than New Zealand in 2013?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the two countries are Cyprus and Greece, and I'd note that a number of the countries that will have a smaller current account deficit will achieve that because they have deep recessions and are going through dramatic austerity programs. These are not choices that the New Zealand government is willing to make.
The Honourable David Parker.
Given that according to the IMF, the only country in the world of any size with a worse projected deficit is Greece, how can the Prime Minister be taken seriously in his pre-budget speech yesterday titled "Sticking to a Plan That's Working"?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, for the reasons that we said, New Zealand has the choice of a reasonably moderate adjustment to the global aversion to debt. We are making considered and balanced decisions as we go through that adjustment. Other countries don't have those choices. If the member would prefer the UK's current account deficit of about 1%, then I presume he prefers their policy mix. We don't.
Andrew.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, has he seen any reports of the opposition finance spokesman in 1999?
Order. No, the order. No. The Minister of Finance is not responsible for anything the opposition spokesperson might have said at any time. The right honourable member has to be rather more subtle in framing his question than that to bring it with an order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, has he seen any reports of what happened to the current account deficit in the 9 years that Labor were in office, and any reports of what the opposition finance spokesman said when he was campaigning, Mr Michael Cullen, in 1999 about the matter?
The Honourable Bill English.
I'm sure I would certainly find those reports, but I can recall it, where the Labor Party at the time campaigned to halve the current account deficit, and they ended up doubling it.
The Honourable David Parker.
Will the rising current account deficit be funded by a combination of more overseas borrowing and selling New Zealand assets to foreigners, or does it intend to print money?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the current account deficit will be financed in the same way it has been for some time. It's one of those economic variables where change occurs slowly over time. So as recently as 4 years ago, it was one of the highest in the developed world at over 8%. If it can peak at around 6% through this business cycle, taking into account the significant impact of the earthquake, that would represent significant progress. New Zealanders are doing their bit by saving and being careful with their spending, and the government is lending weight to that by being careful with its spending, so that we can get to a position where we're saving as well.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
My question was whether it would be funded by a combination of more borrowing and selling of assets. The Minister said it will be funded as it was previously, but he didn't tell the House the answer or address the question as to whether it was a combination of borrowing from overseas and selling assets.
I can't ask the Minister to limit it just to those options. What the Minister did say would be funded. He said it would be funded in the way that it's been traditionally funded. Now, the member asked how it was going to be funded, and that was the answer to the Minister of Finance. And I can't pin him down to those particular options in case of other options. And I think the member does have further questions should he wish to pursue that further. The Honourable David Parker.
Does the Minister realise that another near-zero budget, rising net international liabilities and record numbers of New Zealanders leaving to Australia are proof of his government's failure to properly manage the economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
No, Mr Speaker, I don't. Many New Zealanders have put their shoulder to the wheel through the recession. They've been resilient. they've been adaptable, they've responded to the economic signals, and the government is doing everything it can to support them because they want to see more jobs, higher incomes and a growing economy, and we are on track to achieve that.
Right.
Paul Goldsmith.
To the Minister, how does New Zealand's present international position compare with the situation that the government inherited in 2008?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, just to add a few facts to the debate, the current account deficit for the year ended 31 March 2012 is 4.1%. In 31 March 2008 it was 8%. So it is currently half the level that we inherited.
Paul Goldsmith.
What steps has the government taken to rebalance the economy towards savings, exports and paying its way in the world?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, every step the government takes is headed in that direction, but some of the significant ones have been to reform the tax system, increasing taxes on consumption and property speculation and cutting taxes on work and saving, curbing government spending increases and getting on track to surplus, keeping a lid on the cost of doing business, for instance by getting on top of the fast rising costs like ACC, and providing more investment and savings opportunities for New Zealanders by pushing ahead with the mixed ownership model.
The Honourable David Parker.
Does the Minister realise that the chorus of reports saying that it's going to get worse include the Bank of New Zealand forecast that New Zealand exports will decline by over $3 billion over the next 12 months? And if so, when's he going to acknowledge that his efforts to rebalance the economy have failed?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, if the member is going to judge any economic policy on what might happen in the next few months, then that indicates his unsuitability to be trying to run an economy.
Order. I don't think the question quite deserved that kind of answer. I think the question is not unreasonable. There are commentators that have made these kinds of predictions, so I don't think it deserved quite that answer. The Honourable Bill English.
No, Mr Speaker, I don't acknowledge that. The fact is that it's going to take some time to undo the enormous damage that party did to this economy when it had a decade of benign global conditions. We're dealing with that legacy plus the global recession, and many New Zealanders are actually quite proud of the way they've adapted and are looking forward to a brighter future.
Question number 5, Materia Tude.
Thank you, Mr.